All right, well, we have some people with us. Director Andy Serkis. Thank you. Producer Jonathan Cavendish. Of course, the lovely Claire Foy. And Andrew Garfield. So obviously we know you for doing such great film work and as an actor doing all the CGI work. What drew you to this as your directorial debut?
Jonathan and I became very close friends about 6 or 7 years ago. We formed a company called the Imaginarium Studios, which was a performance capture studio with a production part of it, which had a slate of films. And we'd started to work on various different things, evolving various projects, and one of the films on the slate was this film, Breathe, which Jonathan had been working on previously with writer Bill Nicholson. And I read the script one night, and I said, Jonathan, I know that I'm kind of more known for directing elves and orcs and goblins and animals of the jungle, but how do you feel if I take a crack at directing a film about your parents? And he fortunately said yes. It was the most amazing script by Bill Nicholson, and it made all of us, cry. Everyone who got involved in this movie basically were weeping when they read the script, and so so that was the starting point. It was the most powerful, beautiful piece of writing, and it was a real honour to. I know Diana very, very closely as well, and to be able to take this film, to take this beautiful love story, a story about surviving with wit and grace and beauty, and living 2 minutes away from death with such ebullience and a lust for life was just too much to be able to resist.
Well, speaking of that weight, I wanted to ask both of you. Obviously, we've known you for such great roles, but playing a real person carries the weight of that. What was your process like getting into it and getting into that mindset?
It is a huge responsibility, especially when Jonathan Cavendish is watching your every move with his beady eye. No, I'm being facetious, because actually Jonathan's presence was nothing but a support, nothing but an inspiration in and of itself. His mere presence kind of created a lot of inspiration for myself and Claire. If ever we needed reminding what we were doing was more important than usual, all we needed to do was make a quick eye contact with Jonathan and realise we were telling his story. We had his heart in our hands, and not only that, but the heart of his parents. And what an amazing responsibility to be given, what a privilege to attempt to honour this magnificent life, this incredible example of how to live with joy amid terrible loss and suffering, but to smile at God and all of his cruelty and laugh at the big cosmic joke of living, to be in on that joke, to be aware of that joke. What a beautiful thing to try to honour.
was asking about your process getting into the characters and carrying them.
You answered that. I don't really know. I think we had a very short period of time to get to know one another. And prep was really, really short. So I felt like I just had to dive in, really. And I didn't really, I did find it weird. I sort of kept looking at the script and trying to do the work that I would normally do. But I just couldn't. I just sort of realised that I had to just turn up and be there. And luckily, Bill Nicholson wrote this amazing script that allowed that to happen. And I just loved it. And I really just loved working with Andrew. And we just had, it was good.
Well, Jonathan, all I want to ask you is, has your mom seen it, and what does she think?
Well, my mum has seen it. It was definitely the most scary of the screenings that we've had so far. But she's a woman of exacting view. But if you want to ask what she thinks of it, you can ask her yourself, because here she is.
So you want to know what I thought of the film? Well, I think they made the most fantastic job of it, and I thought it was wonderful, and brought back all these happy memories. And Claire and Andrew were absolutely amazing, and we had a lot of conversation beforehand, didn't we? And Andrew took so much trouble, because you can imagine it was a very difficult part to play, and he got it absolutely right, and he got the twinkle in Robin's eye so well. So I hope you've all enjoyed it.
All right, well, I'm going to open it up to the audience. Does anybody have any questions? Right here, hand shut up, right in the middle.
My question would be for Mr. Serkis. As an actor who is so well known for your own extremely expressive face, did you find there was any challenge that you kind of were surprised by when directing other actors to use almost nothing but their faces in their performances?
So the question was about your directing technique, especially because you have such an expressive face when you act, in terms of directing other actors who have to use their face as the primary function to express.
Yeah, I mean, look, the understanding was there very deeply all the way along from Andrew's research into Robin, and the footage that we could watch, and we were spoilt with a wealth of family archives, and the research that Andrew did. We knew that this young athletic man, in a way, the energy, all of that energy that was contained in Robin pre-polio was somehow reborn from the neck up, and the intelligence and wit and the way of dealing with everything was manifested. I think the energy was manifested in his facial expressions, but that was all Andrew's work, and that was so I just sat back and just like was blown away by what Andrew was doing, and was just admiring every single choice that he made. He's such an extraordinary actor. So I can take the credit for that.
Looking for the balcony, I don't want to. Wave your hand, don't shout at me, please. All right. Right there. Yeah, I see.
I'd love to know what your next project is, and how do you intend to include people with disabilities in your filmmaking process?
So the question is, what is your next project, and how you intend to include people with disabilities in your filmmaking process?
Well, I made a film about Ian Jury, who also was a polio sufferer. This is my second polio movie. I don't think we're making a polio trilogy, but no, in actual fact, your question about disabled actors, we actually, when we were making this movie, you know, very much went out to the acting, you know, the disabled acting community. To play roles, but of course the central role of Robin could only be played by an able-bodied actor, because he has to play pre and post that situation. But of course the you know, diversity is everything, and it is important, and we did try with all our hearts to connect with acting organisations which acting registers of disabled actors to be part of this, and we were unsuccessful in actual fact. There were very few actors who who were able to come and join us. But the next project, well, there are a few. One of which we're developing is Animal Farm. That is one that Jonathan and I are producing, and many other exciting ones in between.
We have tons of talent that have disabilities here in Canada, and we would love to host you.
Thank you.
I'm going to go here.
For a comment, first, Andrew, you were fabulous in Angels, so good luck with that. When Olivia, what time comes, and families, you handled the goodbye very, very well in terms of saying goodbye to your husband. Not everyone has that opportunity, and that was handled very, very well in terms of the doctor coming in. And just on your husband's own terms, because I've been in that situation where you don't get to say goodbye, and it's something you have to admire and respect, and there's a great deal of courage and strength, and I give you a lot of credit for being here and telling that story, because I think there are a lot of people who, you know,
Thank you. Thank you. We're running out of time, but I have time for one more. I'm going to go right here in the center.
My father got polio in the 50s here in Toronto, and I was 3, my brother was 6 years old, and he lived to the early 80s, and also had women around him everywhere. But he was given a wheelchair right away, and he did nothing but it. And I just felt for you that Robin had to invent it, and then invest the motorized one, and that was all he had.
Thank you. Do we have one more question that we can? Sorry, I just right here.
I was wondering if you could comment on your views on the term disabled, and yeah.
So the question was, can you comment on your views on the term disabled? Who for?
For anyone, that's a. I mean, that's a wonderful question. I need more education. It always feels strange coming out of my mouth, that word. Yeah, so I need I need help with that. I need some guidance with that. You guys could probably answer better.
Well, I'd just comment in one way, which is that one of the extraordinary things my father did when he came out of hospital in the very early 60s, there were very, very few people out of hospital, that like none, in Europe with that degree of disability. And so most of the people that he met were a great deal more nervous of him than he was of them. And he decided very early on with my mother to make things easier for everybody else. He couldn't shake hands, he couldn't go towards people, he couldn't greet them. But the entire way that his life was presented by my mother and himself was to put everyone else at ease. And in that way, as in so many other ways you see in the film, the way that he made life possible for a lot of people to live outside hospital when nobody else at that time was doing so. It's not an answer to your question, but it was part of his character and part of his legacy, I think, in terms of that question.
Well, I want to thank you all so much.